Yo, yo, what the fuck? Darth Vader? How are you doing
Hey.
over here?
Oh,
I
oh,
had
wait.
another, I had a different special guest. You're in the wrong show, bro.
Oh, this is awkward. I'm so sorry about this.
This is Media Chopper, man. We're gonna talk about WandaVision, episode 8. Have you even
Oh,
been watching? Have you even been watching WandaVision out there? Do you get the frequency up there?
well, I've been too busy trying to kill my son.
Ah, okay, got you. Okay, well, nonetheless, man, we're gonna get this episode started. So, Media Chop Up starts now. What it is, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Media Chop Up. My name is Serge, aka Serge Villa, and I am joined by my cousin, Captain America, Captain Smitty, Dan.
What's
There
up?
you
What's
go.
up, everybody? What's up?
Oh, well, thank God, man. I thought I was gonna have to talk to Darth Vader for the whole show. Welcome, welcome, special guest.
Yeah, I booted him. I told him he's from a galaxy far, far away. We're only
Yes,
dealing with things that happen here on Earth, or are we?
good point. Very, very, very good point. So yeah, man. So unfortunately, Rick couldn't make it today. He's he got some family stuff, responsibilities to take care of. Nonetheless, he will be missed. But we got so much more to talk about. He can catch up later. You never know. He might pop in. Nonetheless, man, we got our special guest, Captain Dano. I'm giving you
this,
like a million different names.
this is gonna be trademarked. I'm gonna have so many different aliases. I can't wait.
Yo, you better start making accounts for them before someone
You
locks them up.
you know, hashtag we here.
That's right. Absolutely. Hashtag Captain Puerto Rico.
Yeah, man. But just wanted to get into the mood. Throw a little Marvel on in the background. Got the Spider-Man shirt on. I figured
Nice, nice.
throw a
Keep it
little
Marvel.
cap helmet on because we have a lot to talk about today, right?
Julia said, "Mandan plays many roles. Mandan.
Mm, I'm a
Make sure you hashtag Mandan.
I'm a man of many hats, or in this case, helmets.
A man of many dans. Got it. All right.
Man of many dans.
Absolutely. So, yeah, I was having this conversation, and we've been doing these last handful of episodes about WandaVision. It's so big right now, and is absolutely blown up. And there was a lot of controversy because people were like, it's not what you expected, especially coming out of Marvel the way it started,
Right.
And I give it to them because artistically they're having their way with this. They're not limited to what they're doing because like, if you're doing it in a movie, you have so much to cover in that short amount of time. With a season, you have those episodes that you can fill everything in. But nonetheless, I give them a lot of credit. It's definitely no long. It's not boring. It's very, very, very intense right now, and there's so many different ways it can go right now. So the conversation I was having was I was just curious because obviously Disney Plus is new,
Right.
and basically Disney Plus stepped up and was like, listen, anything Disney, you need to go through us. And then they started adding all these extra stuff, and it's all streaming.
Right.
And in this age of COVID, that's a safe way to be able to watch whatever you want to watch, right?
Mhm.
HBO's always done it, but like they're around, and now movies have that option where if they don't want to take their chances in a movie theater because you will be losing money there because unfortunately you're not going to make those normal numbers that we would pre-COVID. But everything is coming down to streaming. Oh, let me see. We got another comment over here.
Right.
Uh, Ray Valentine. Dan needs to find his true self. I think he has.
Listen, Ray, this is me, bro. Are you kidding me? You know who I am. Okay. This is who I am, and the world just needs to accept it. Okay. I'm a man of many masks.
He's an Avenger.
Indeed. I am the Avenger of Brooklyn.
Yes, yes, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
In case Captain America has a sick day, he calls Captain Dano, and he's there.
I'm in there like swimwear.
Absolutely.
But yo, you bring up some really good points about the entire production of Disney Plus. I think so far they've delivered in a excellent way. Only because, well, I mean, you would know. I think maybe in a year or two, that's just going to be like a straight up babysitter for you, right? You have a catalog full of everything from Lion King to um,
Chris Rock.
Mandalorian, Star Wars, all that good stuff. So they
Yeah.
really took it to the hole with all this so far with the Mandalorian and specifically WandaVision.
Someone called you Danny American.
Danny American, I'm here for it.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine. And I was actually, we spoke about this, and I was actually going to wear my Deadpool mask. Fortunately, I didn't have, being that it's all Marvel,
Right.
and being that he's not employed right now, he has nothing better but to watch WandaVision right now. We figured we'd get him on the show,
Yeah.
maybe for the season finale. We'll see. But
Oh, that was Jesse that said that. Danny
oh,
American.
that's right. That's, bro, you're gonna really have to hashtag all these names, man. So
Indeed,
yeah,
indeed.
you're right. So I mean, I don't subscribe to Disney,
Yep.
but I can get everything whatever I need. But
Or
but my whole point is that Disney Plus is new.
mhm.
Not everybody has access. The same access that I have is not the same access everybody else has, unless you know someone that's gonna give you their password, which is rare. Some people are like, I'm already spending money for Netflix. I'm already spending money for Hulu. I don't want to do this again. Pay out, dish out some more money.
Right.
Then in America, I'm buying your superhero outfit. Like,
All
I
right.
had no, I had no idea this was gonna blow up this big.
Coming soon. It's coming soon, Ray. Don't worry. I'll keep you posted.
At first, I thought those were polka dots, and then I realized those Spider-Man heads.
Oh yeah, yeah. This is one of my favorite shirts. This shirt has seen
Me,
some
me,
war.
Meanwhile, I'm wearing the Captain America shirt.
Yeah.
Right?
I peeped that. I peeped
Yeah,
that. I
check
guess
it
we
out.
need to switch shirts, but not on
Yeah,
the show though, because that would
not
be too
trust me.
inappropriate.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to
Yeah.
blur out everything. But so my point is that I was just curious, and early in the week I started like a poll, and unfortunately I didn't screenshot it, but I was paying attention to the numbers, and I was really trying to Rick said, I love it, Captain Dan America, Dan
The
America.
America. That'll be
So
the next one.
so I did the poll just to find out because not everybody watches or even has access to Disney Plus.
Right.
As much as the hype is blowing up and we see all that's involved, that's from our perspective, and it was very very informative, man. Just basically to see how many people didn't watch it, but like honestly, I mean, there's a lot of people who saw the post didn't say anything, but like let's say we had a good amount of people that voted, and it was like, bro, it was like 50-50 in terms
Mm.
of who watches it, who sees it, who has no intention of seeing it, who doesn't have access, all that.
Right.
Now obviously I would need a lot more detailed poll to get this, but it's pretty crazy that it's blown up so much and it's still not reaching everyone, not
Right.
yet. I don't
Yeah.
think so. Listen,
I
not
think
not
also because unfortunately Wanda's a tertiary character, right? Like she's not really one of the main Marvel characters,
Mhm.
but the fact that they've been able to take her and blow her up
She's powerful.
and Vision as largely as they have with this series really speaks volumes to the writers and just the showrunners of this content.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, listen, she's one of the most powerful characters, and in all honesty, I've heard this when watching the Avengers, and my diehards like, listen, this person is known for this person, and I've heard that, but you don't really get a true sense because in the Avengers movie, there's a lot going on, right? In
Right.
all the other movies, there's a lot going on. Beard Gang, who wrote
That's an inside joke Jesse and I have.
nice gang gang. Okay,
Gang gang.
so so it's interesting. Um, think about it. This is a show, Media Chop, we talk about all different types of movies and shows and so on and so on. And I don't want to alienate a piece of our audience who don't even want to watch this show. Nonetheless,
Yeah.
there's only one episode left. As a matter of fact, there's only one episode left. We'll
Right.
go right back to jumping into something else. As a matter of fact, coming out early March is coming to America Part 2. So I guess we'll obviously be talking about that.
Mm-hmm. Indeed,
So
indeed. A lot of
so
content coming out.
in all honesty, man, going back to what you said, I haven't watched that many Disney movies. Like, I watch a
Okay.
couple of them. I watch Lion King. I watch Dumbo. Those are classics, here and there. But I just I've never really been fully into it. I
Right.
just got I just got my daughter, and I'm sure we'll be into it. But prior, like if I caught it, I caught it. If I didn't, I didn't.
Yeah.
So I haven't really been drawn to Disney like that, especially
Mhm.
since in the past, like they put their stuff in their vault, and if you want to get it later, it might not be available. I wasn't crazy about that.
Yeah. Well, I think that's one of the reasons why Disney went and acquired Star Wars, Marvel, because they understand that individuals just as yourself, that their current catalog at when they acquired before they acquired those companies was very limited.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
they certainly wanted to expand their demographic a bit, and they did that. They were successful with it. Hey, and honestly, man, like I think Disney Plus is an excellent value for the money. It's $8 a month, right? Which
yeah.
is $80 for the year.
Hmm.
And you essentially have the entire catalog of Disney at your disposal, including WandaVision, the
Yeah,
hottest show out right now.
absolutely, man. I mean, in all honesty, man, I would have never dreamed that it would blow up this, get this big.
Right.
And in all honesty, man, it's not just about what Wanda could do.
Mm-hmm.
It's what they're introducing and us all guessing every week.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't release everything like Netflix has done, where they drop it all together. No, this is
Right.
basically week by week, so you are buzzing, wondering who they're going to introduce. There's so many different directions they can go.
Yeah.
So it's been fun. So I've done a little research this week, and I found out some very very interesting things. Like, for example, so many theories on which villain can be introduced next, right? So, obviously Agatha came up in episode 7, and it was, but I know there's a lot more to the story, and there's so many different more people who can be involved. Mephisto, Nightmare, anyone else you could think of?
Chthon.
Chiton. I don't even know how to
Right.
freaking pronounce these people's names. My
Yeah.
God, right? God bless these ingenious and creative writers and comic book writers to even think of these things, right?
Right.
To even think that, what would this bad guy be called? Chiton.
Well, we have to remember that this predates everyone having a television in their home and
Yeah, yeah,
Xbox and PlayStation. So people still have good imaginations, but people were forced to use it more
yeah,
60, 70 years ago,
yeah.
you know?
Agreed. Yeah. Rick wrote, facts. Marvel got the Midas touch. Any character they bring to the screen turns mainstream.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Guardians of the
Yeah.
Galaxy. That's
Both my
GOT.
daughters growing up. Both my daughters grew up with Disney. I just finished watching Captain America. I
Yeah.
mean, honestly, I can't. This is the next wave of of mediums for us. Like, basically, everything works out. We went to Blockbuster before. If your movie was sold out, everyone rented it. You had to wait. Like, this
Right.
is
Right.
different. Everything is streaming. And if enough people try to stream at one time, it goes down. But nonetheless, everything is technological.
Right.
So it's the next level right now. We are at that curve where things are changing, and
Mhm.
with COVID, a hard pivot had to be made. These storylines have been planned on forever ago,
Yeah.
so they're not going to stop. And in all honesty, I read somewhere, I forget who said it. They said basically, Marvel, and these superhero movies are going to save the industry, because when people are scared to go to the movies, or when it's time to go back, what's going to bring them back? And Marvel has always stirred up that curiosity to bring the fans and everyone else along with it.
Right.
How long have we been waiting for this movie to come out? And they
Black
keep
Widow.
changing it. Black Widow, like,
Yeah.
come
Since
on, like,
since actually
20,
February of 2020, it was supposed to come out.
I don't want to even hear about it anymore. Just show it to me, damn it.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
come on, So
Yeah. Well, they've done it with other movies where they'll do you have to have the membership and then you pay like a premium in order to access it and
mhm.
you own it, but it's in the app. So you can only watch it through the app. I think that's a little corny
Yeah.
considering HBO Max is just dropping everything on there, while having it simultaneously going at the movie theaters as well. But I think in that
This is
regard, Disney needs to get it together.
well, well, I guess so. I mean, honestly, these are these people are just trying to figure out a recipe. What's the
Right.
recipe during this time? Things are slowing down. I mean, granted, movies are open again, and but it's no longer in the in the amounts that it was normal
Right, right.
before COVID, right? I can tell you one thing, and it's crazy. Overseas, China, those people don't give a fuck. They go to movies. It could be freaking the end of the world. Oh, Armageddon's tomorrow. Oh, guess what? I get to watch Captain America. You know
Yeah.
what? They're gonna be fighting over the freaking what's it called? Over the popcorn. Like, that's my popcorn.
Right,
So
right, right.
obviously there's a billion people in freaking China, but it's
Yeah.
amazing how much people flock to the theaters even during a pandemic.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll see what happens because movie theaters are supposed to open this upcoming Friday, March
Uh-huh.
5th in New York. The governor's allowing the movie theaters to reopen.
Isaac went to the movies yesterday.
Well, he probably went to Jersey.
Uh-huh.
He likes to go to Jersey, that guy.
Oh, now
So,
all of a sudden he wants to go to Jersey.
yeah, he's bougie like that. So,
Nah,
whatever.
whatever. We'll talk about him another time. We'll trash talk him.
Right.
But so my point was this, right? It's been known that Hollywood studios tend to cater to foreign audiences with storylines, uh, to foreign audiences with storyline or hidden messages. So since movie sales overseas are important, it's mostly it's mostly always comes down to money when it comes to deciding the direction of a movie. Example: RoboCop, the original, hardcore. It
Right.
was rated R. It was crazy, and basically everything fit. Like it was basically a time where the government couldn't do anything, the police couldn't do anything. It took place in Detroit. Things were so bad. Everybody was looting everything. Everybody was robbing. Things were horrible. Cops were dying left and right. So
Right.
then they said, "Yo, we got to do something." And someone had a cutting edge idea, and they decided to turn a cop to find a way to revive him and turn him into a robot. And it became RoboCop, where he was bulletproof, and it was huge. It was huge, and it did great at the time, even though they had like three of them and the rest of them were caca. But nonetheless, it was known for being so raw. It was rated R. Then they decided to do a reboot, and the reboot was okay, right? A
Mm,
lot of it was heavy base CGI, and it was cool looking. But at the end of the day, they made it PG-13.
mm.
So why did they decide to make it PG-13 when the roots and the fans wanted it to be rated R? Simply put, more people go to the movies with PG-13 rating because they could bring their kids. They
Right.
don't have to look for babysitters. So they're like, you know what? Forget the fans. We want to make this money. More people go to the movies because they bring their kids on a holiday weekend or whatever the case may be. So my whole point is that as much as you're a fan, the movies and the art of the movies are usually affected by the bottom dollar. They want to maximize. Forget staying true, right? So another example is Blade. Blade was rated R. It was great. Wesley Snipes was great when that came out. I used to run to the movies to see that. Right, he was awesome in that movie.
Yeah.
Now they're doing a reboot, and Mashallah Ali, and I really like him, but they decided to go PG-13. So is the story of like a vampire story where there's blood and now you can't show that much blood? Is that story going to translate well or as well as the other one, as the original? You're
Yeah.
taking away from it. It's almost like watching a movie about Vikings and you're not allowed to show any violence. Meanwhile, everything about them was violent.
Hmm.
I don't like that. So the reason I bring this up is because with all the theories going around, the storylines and the villains, it's been said that people say that being that a lot of times foreign countries and lands they can their influence can affect the result, the end of the story, which means this is how many people in China, right? There's a billion people in China, right? And like I said before, they all go to the movies. That's all money, right? I'm
Mhm.
gonna get into all the details of China, but some people were like, they have certain rules in China, and I don't know if you know what these rules are. And those rules drastically change. They drastically change the outcomes of certain movies, right? I'll get into those details, right? So, so basically, I wrote something called WandaVision versus China, and the reason why I looked into this is because I feel Mephisto's still coming. I still
Right.
think he's involved. Some people are like, oh no, I don't think he's going to be involved. I still think that the writing is on the wall. They keep showing you these devil signals. They keep dropping these words and saying devil and devil, and it's all there on the wall, in my opinion. And it's going to be and they've done a great job in this. Going up to the last episode, we still don't know who the real villain is, in my opinion.
Right.
So so with China's rules, they wouldn't be able to be a Mephisto. Let me go over their rules, okay? So, so China has 1,398,000,000 people plus living there, which basically means that they have an extremely lucrative film market. Iron Man 3 was edited for Chinese audiences with an extra scene of how Chinese doctors save Iron Man's life.
Oh wow, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, like so, like because it's different over here. What we're seeing over here, they want to, honestly, this happens with a lot of movies. In Die Hard movies and all these different movies, there's different terrorists. So nobody wants to be the terrorist, right? So if it's Russian influence, or if it's Middle Eastern influence, people don't want they don't want people in their country to be. And I understand you don't want to be typecasted, right?
Right.
But someone has to be the bad guy. Somebody, I'm pretty sure in many, many, many movies, Americans are bad guys, But and I don't take it personally. I just enjoy the movie. I'm not
Right.
gonna be like, what? That's blasphemy that they're painting us in this picture. First of all, I know how badly people think about Americans outside of this country and even inside this country. Like people hate Americans, for many, many reasons. Nonetheless, in the first Doctor Strange movie, the ancient one was Tibetan, but they changed it to Tilda Swinton of Celtic origins, so they wouldn't have to mention Tibet, which is a sensitive topic for China. China doesn't want to. They don't want any mention of Tibet because Tibet wants to break off on their own. So basically, China doesn't acknowledge it. So they
Right.
don't. So like, you know what? Then we're not going to allow your movies in our, anything mentioning Tibet in our country. I feel that's petty. You know, Essentially, movies seen in China are controlled by the Chinese Communist Party via the Chinese Film Association. Their quota of 34 foreign films per year is allowed to be distributed in China once approved. Also, China will get a cut. The government will get a cut of the movie proceeds, right?
Right.
Okay, all right. So they follow a list of censorship guidelines. Number one, no depicting the Chinese government in a negative light.
Right.
In the movie The Dark Knight, Warner Brothers didn't send out the movie for review because the character Lao, which was a corrupt Chinese official that would not be extradited due to corruption with the Chinese government. So that movie did not show in China, and Warner Brothers didn't even submit it to them because it's like we're not changing that.
Hmm.
It doesn't mean that much to us. So number two, anything that is seen as sympathetic to Tibet or other political factions that the Chinese government has cracked down on. It sucks that audiences are missing out on media because that can help them view the world differently. It's almost like they're trying to control their mindset of how different
Yeah.
things are viewed. And unfortunately, believe it or not, man, as much as we watch things and we know things are movies, as much as you hate a character, is that person playing that character necessarily that person? No, they're playing a role, right? Some people forget that, but nonetheless, I've seen it where foreigners have come to our country and come to me and literally asked me, a family, bro, the father, the mother, the son and the daughter were on the train once. I was coming home from a football game, and they were staring at me, and I said, "Hey, what's going on?" and they were all like whispering to each other, "We just want to know if you have a gun and can we see it?" What?
Yeah,
And they were
yeah.
like, I was like,
Stereotypes, man.
why would you think that? Oh, because everything, and they told me this,
Right,
everything we see on TV shows that they have guns over here.
right, right,
You know,
right.
and I'm like, well, that's not true. You know, that's what
Yeah.
I was taught. But so all right, let me continue. So this is what sets the parameters for what's viewed in China. This is hilarious. Winnie the Pooh is banned in China because people have said the Chinese leader looks just like him, and there's been a bunch of memes on it. So the Chinese president Xi Jinping didn't like that, so therefore, no Winnie the Pooh in
Mm,
China. Right? Christopher
yeah.
Robin, the movie in 2018, banned from China. No Pooh in China.
That's a shame.
No overly graphic sexual content, no pornography, no incest, no depictions of homosexuality, right? Um, and then here's the big one right here, and this is called the no ghost rule. Advocating no advocating cults or superstitions, spirit possession, reincarnation, witchcraft, etc. It's called the no ghost rule, right? Which basically, in a nutshell, means no WandaVision because
Mm, she's a
witchcraft
witch.
and devils, right?
Yeah,
So a lot of people were worried because they were saying, hey, it's definitely not going to be Mephisto because China is not going to allow that, right? And basically, they went back and they basically said, listen, what they want is not going to influence the direction we go, right?
right,
Keep in mind, WandaVision is a streaming show versus movies, which are pressured to appeal to all international markets. So movies have a much tighter uh, they're pressured to basically do certain things, right?
right.
Disney Plus does not exist in China. It's a simple truth. Disney Plus announced that at the end of 2022, they plan on launching in South Korea and parts of Hong Kong. But the rest of China, not allowed, right? There's
Right.
no Netflix, there's no Hulu, there's no Google, there's no YouTube, all not in China. Basically, the government does not allow it. So a lot of the stuff that we watch here, they don't have liberty to watch. Okay. Uh, Keep in mind, Disney eventually when they make it over there, they can re-edit endings so it can fit that market. So regionally, they'll have different backgrounds that don't violate their rules, But ultimately, they don't want to ruin it for the rest of us. Okay,
Yeah.
so no Mephisto mentioned at all in China, basically. So ultimately, man, oh man, I don't even know if I posted these up. In fact, I was going to say, ultimately, Disney is taking over the world with all these great Marvel stories. Eventually, we will all be a part of Disney, man. So, as a matter of fact, I actually reached out to Disney and asked them to turn us into cartoons so we can, get ahead of that and see what we're going to be looking like. Give
Yeah.
me a second. I gotta upload it.
Okay.
It's on my phone, but I'm gonna
This should be interesting. I feel like I would look like Eeyore.
Eeyore.
Eeyore, yeah.
It doesn't all have to be Winnie the Pooh, though. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I know, but Eeyore is my guy.
Okay, is he? Why is Eeyore your guy? I'm
Yeah,
curious.
everybody loves Eeyore. Who could say a bad thing about Eeyore,
That
right?
sounds like everybody loves Raymond.
Yeah. Well, but where do you think they got the idea for the show?
You know what?
Eeyore,
That's gonna be the next show on Disney Plus. Everybody
right?
loves Eeyore.
Everybody loves Eeyore. The reboot, banned in China,
And
coming
banned
soon.
in China. Exactly right. Coming soon. Hashtag.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me get this image up. So I asked them to turn the three of us. Oh, I gotta download it first. My fault. The three of us into cartoon figures so we can see what we would look like, so we can get ahead of it and start putting our stuff on merchandise, t-shirts. Let me see
Nice.
if where you at, man.
This ought
There
to
we
be
go.
good, man. You know, the thing with the whole breakdown of the Chinese government, it just goes to show you. I mean, they're obviously a communist country. They're selective
Yeah, yeah.
communism. But that's one of the big things about that regime over there, where they control the media and
It's like that in a lot of places, though.
yeah, no, true, but obviously it stands out more because of the mass of that country, and the amount of people that live there and the control of resources. So I know also like Disney tries to tread lightly around them, simply because if you remember the whole Mulan situation, they needed to go
That's
uh,
another example.
to
Yeah,
China to film.
Yep, yep.
and that stirred up a bit of controversy as well.
Mhm. Definitely, definitely. So, all right. So I got these images. All right. We'll start with Rick. I wanted to see how he would look as a cartoon.
Rick.
So I don't know what cartoon his is going to be called, but this is going to be Rick.
Oh, okay.
Looking very papi chulo-ish with those eyebrows.
Yo, his name is Ricardo, the story.
Rick,
That's what it's called.
Ricky, yeah, Ricky, right? Then I did you.
Oh, yo,
Oh, look,
why do I
muy,
look like Miro from Jesus and Miro? That's hilarious, bro.
muy, muy guapo, right? And
Yeah.
then in his Sergio Villa over here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, in the train. I haven't
That
taken the train in forever, but
that comic book is gonna be lit.
yo, for real, man. It's basically I'm just reading these messages. So yeah, so that's what we'll look like.
Right. Okay.
So
Well, hey
it should be
Disney, I'm open to it.
yeah.
There we
Find
go.
out what's the name of the show right here. What's the name of the show?
Smitty, the untold story.
Everybody loves Smitty. All right,
It's
got it.
brick outside
It's brick.
because of the
Exactly. It's literally brick outside.
literally brick
Meanwhile,
outside.
we should have a window where your neighbor pop, with the eye come
That
pop
could
out.
be a good cutout. That could
Yeah,
be like the Como cutout. You know.
absolutely. Oh God, we got a comment. Let's see what this says. Oh, Rick, I'd buy it.
Yeah. Yo,
Rick, you'll buy everything,
you
bro.
heard it here first. Yo,
All
shout
right.
out to Aaron Guzman. That's
Oh yeah.
Ray's daughter's boyfriend checking in.
Oh,
Big
what's up?
Marvel fan.
What's up, B?
You know,
Very, very nice. So
appreciate
yeah,
you
man.
joining.
So we put together a bunch of questions for those of you watching. If you have any other questions, feel free to just chime in. We'll try to answer them. All right. Um, Smitty, if you have the answer for this, just jump in and answer it. I have stuff written. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
which one of us answer. But so the first question, let me see the first question, and this is a question that was from my sister, who she was one of the people who hasn't watched it, wants to watch it, but doesn't know what it's about.
Mm.
So the first question would be, what is WandaVision about?
I would say WandaVision is about a woman that grew up in a troubled past, full of adversity, never truly understood why the things happened in her life, had a lot of turmoil, and never really knew her true self.
Uh-huh.
And this show is not only about her finding herself as a person and dealing with remorse and despair, but it's also about knowing who she is as what Inhuman, now that Marvel has regained the rights, a mutant. So
There's a big storyline. There's a big backstory, and you have to learn. It's almost like you got to learn the rules.
yeah,
You got to learn the rules of everything to understand how everything plays out and how certain influences come into play.
yeah,
I didn't
absolutely.
mean to cut you off. You have anything else you
No,
want to add?
I mean that's pretty much it. Where not only learning about who she was before, we met her in Age of Ultron. We're seeing a lot of that unfold on this show.
Hmm.
But we're also understanding or we're coming to understand who she will the potential that she has, and who she can be in this universe.
Absolutely, and I mean she's one of the most powerful characters. I don't even want to just say Avengers, because it goes
Yeah,
through
yeah,
all characters, and she's one of those people. It's almost like Hulk. Hulk has always been known to be so strong, and he gets stronger every time he gets angrier and angrier and angrier, right? And
right,
that's where his power lies. But with Wanda, she's so powerful that her emotions can subliminally take control, and that's scary. That's
right,
scary to have somebody that you can control your powers mentally, but then if you are completely overtaken by some hard emotion or something a really tough time, somebody with those powers could be very dangerous. So what
yeah,
I wrote is this: on the surface, Wanda and Vision, Paul Bettany, Elizabeth Olsen, have moved into a nice suburban home in New Jersey. The unusual couple tries to fit in while hiding the fact that they're two superpowered Avengers. First off, WandaVision takes place after the events of Avengers Endgame. Vision shouldn't be there. So ultimately, Vision shouldn't be there because he died. He died. He had to be killed in the last Avengers movie because the Power Stone was going to be used for evil, and they were trying to gather all the Power Stones to basically end humanity and end all these Marvel characters with the powerful glove. And he was powered by the Power Stone, and he should not be in this. This story should not be continuing because he was killed.
Right.
So that's basically in a nutshell what WandaVision is about. Okay. There's many layers, and that's what makes it so much fun. In the beginning, you're just trying to understand what's going on, and then you start realizing all the ties and all these different strings of all these different things that are happening all at once. And I feel like a great story is a story that has all these different layers, and they have to tell all of them. They have the time to be able to tell all of them.
Right.
Moving on. Next question. Oh, we got a comment. Let me see. Somebody wrote something.
Yeah, that was Rick.
Yeah. He said, "You guys think
I
there's
think-
going to be uh,
Vision
a
versus
Vision
Vision.
versus Vision fight?"
Yeah,
I think so. I think
I
so.
think
I don't know how it's gonna play out, but I feel like it's not just gonna be 1-on-1. I feel like it's gonna be um, obviously Wanda's gonna snap out of it, and she's gonna team up, and then possibly Photon as well. She's gonna be involved somehow. You know.
yeah, I think it's gearing up for a big season finale. I think we're about to be wowed.
Absolutely.
I do know that Paul Bettany hinted at who, the person that they're expecting to come in, saying that he never directly worked with him. And one of the things that they keep alluding to is they keep talking about Mandalorian. If you saw the final episode of season 2 of Mandalorian, there was a huge appearance by a beloved character in the Star Wars universe. So they keep hinting that that's supposed to happen on the final episode of WandaVision, something along those lines.
Bro, I've heard so many different outcomes of people guesstimating what's going to happen.
Right,
There's no way to know, man, and that's kind of the beauty of it.
right,
Uh,
right,
to go from a very powerful episode 7 where Agatha reveals herself and she's basically controlling Wanda, and you're trying to understand the extent of it, and then to go into this episode and just basically jump into the backstory of Wanda. It's so interesting. I just want to learn. I just want to learn more. Give me more. Give me more.
right, right, right.
It's very, very interesting. I'll move on to the next question. Uh, who is Agent Jimmy Woo's missing witness? Now, early on in the game, Agent Woo, who's the agent of Sword, mentioned that he had a witness that he lost. If there's one thing you can't do is you cannot forget about certain points made. They don't say things or do things and not get back to them. You know.
Right.
So you have any someone wrote something. Doctor Strange. What did he say?
I wonder if he's going to make an appearance.
I
I mean,
it
that would
doesn't
kind
have
of
to
make
be.
sense.
It does make sense because that's what they're leaning towards. You already see the dates of when this is going to open up for the multiverse of madness.
Right, right.
It's happening. You know,
Yeah,
it's all. This is already leaning towards that. I don't know how much. It might be an end cut post credit scene where they show him,
hmm
but he's somehow going to be tied into this. But I'm not even factoring him in because I feel like somebody else is going to get thrown in there.
yeah.
So
To go to your question about Jimmy Woo, I honestly forgot about that whole concept, or that he introduced to us about his missing witness. I do know that a person that's been very strange in this entire show, but they have highlighted her quite a bit, at least early on, was Dottie, the woman with the blonde hair that organized the
yellow
talent
flowers.
show. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So she's had a lot of like subliminal messages that she put out there. And obviously everyone in the town is under the control of Wanda. So she might have, in a sense, been that witness that sort of succumbed to that, or she could be somebody else, but she's just another character that really stands out to me where something seems fishy about her. I could be totally wrong about it, but maybe Dottie is that person. Because there is I don't believe she was ever listed on Jimmy's board of witnesses that are in Westview.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember seeing her photo there.
Hold on a second. Let me see
So,
if I have this board.
for the yeah, so you got the board there, right? So, it pretty much highlights everybody else that we've seen on the show,
Yeah.
but
He wrote a
yeah,
lot
we
of
don't.
important information. If you look at the board, the entire board, he asked the right questions. Why the hex shape? Why
Yeah,
sitcoms? At same time and space. Is Vision alive?
yeah.
And and then over there he asked if there's what is it called? The aliens from Captain Marvel,
The scrolls,
the scrolls. Are scrolls involved? Like
scrolls. Yeah,
these things, they planted this seed, and then they don't, and then you don't know if they're going to do something with it. Is there anything on this board? No. All right.
right,
So they've been planting these seeds, man, and I'm curious what they're going to do with it. But
right.
it's definitely been interesting. What did I have here? I go. It's all been but forgotten at this point. But the only reason FBI agent Jimmy Woo got mixed up in the Westview anomaly in the first place is because he was sent there to investigate a missing persons case involving an important witness. Since then, he's been sidetracked by the whole entire town becoming a living sitcom thing, and the witness has barely been mentioned again. So who is it? It could be Westview resident we've seen, or even Agatha, or there's a slim chance it could be a new but familiar character from Marvel Comics making their debut in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Either way, we'll find out next week. So, so it's not forgotten. It's coming.
Right.
You know.
Absolutely.
All right. Next question. Is Vision alive or dead?
Yeah. Well, I think this episode really opened Pandora's box when it comes to the status of Vision. I think for a long time we sort of assumed that he was dead, but then last week's episode we learned that Agatha had been pulling strings in
Mm-hmm.
order to get Wanda to reveal how she's creating this hex and how she has all these people under her control. So that leads me to believe that Vision could be alive and that the fact that he was dead was an illusion that Agatha put in her head. Another thing on this week's episode, you saw that the energy um, that Wanda gave off because of how full of despair that she was essentially caused her to create the Vision once again.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he is alive. And I think to go back to what Rick said a little bit before, that they're gearing up to have a big Vision fight and White Vision, which we saw was Sword's version of the Vision.
It's definitely getting juicy, man. And there's a lot of big questions, and it, I mean, I was confused. I was just trying to figure out things, but I think that's the beauty of it. It's like talking about somebody being two different worlds. Two different worlds. You have reality, and then you have inside the hex, right? Inside the hex, which is used to be part of the regular world, but then it's controlled in this hex where things are no longer the same anymore. Once people go into that hex, things change.
Right.
And it's controlled by whether it be subliminal powers of Wanda.
Mm-hmm.
That's where they're leaning towards. But it's definitely interesting. This is what I have. Episode 8 did reveal new information about Vision's resurrection. Contrary to earlier episodes and stories, we heard Wanda did not steal Vision's body to bring him back to life. Instead, she somehow used her powers to resurrect him, mind, body, and soul. But that still leaves a lot of questions up in the air. We've previously seen that Vision wasn't capable of fully breaking free of the energy barrier around Westview. When he walked through the hex, it pulled him apart piece by piece until Wanda extended the barrier. So he is truly alive, or simply some kind of artificial extension of Wanda. With the second Vision introduced, in the post-credits scene this week. Could the two beings merge into a new vision? It feels like next week's season finale will either be the full rebirth of the character or his official farewell from the MCU. So, is it like to me? What I thought of was like, is it, with him being alive inside the hex, did that bring him alive
Well,
inside the
I
real world?
think well we saw that the main goal that Hayward was trying to achieve, the main objective was he was trying to get Wanda's ether in order to power his weapon,
Hmm.
right? So that vision in the hex that Wanda's in love with is a flawed vision because he's not a weapon, a machine that Sword wants to utilize. He's been tainted. So they want to be able to take the best parts of him, but eliminate his human like qualities. And that's where you get the white vision.
Hmm.
So I don't know what role Wanda's vision is going to be playing moving forward. Um, it could be that they're setting it up for like ultimate tragedy to sort of put traditional vision to bed once and for all. It could be that he fights white vision and ends that nonsense as well. So again, like you alluded to earlier, Marvel just has this tendency to really keep all of these doors open and these questions, and they have you thinking the entire week about all these potentials and uh, different instances that could occur for the season finale, and that's where they've been successful with everything that they've produced.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. All right, let's move on to the next question. Um, what is the book in Agatha's basement?
So I think that book, it's pretty safe to say that it's the Darkhold.
Hmm,
Uh,
it could be. It could be, or it could be something else. You know,
yeah,
and that's where I think it's actually pretty cool that it can be so many things. You
right.
know, but again, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
No, 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 it's fine. No, I think only because the sorcerers books that we have seen
Hmm.
thus far in many of the other Marvel properties, it's been the Darkhold.
Hmm.
We saw it missing in. I think you posted about it as well, Doctor Strange.
Hmm.
We also saw it in Agents of Shield, which is technically not part of the MCU, but
The Dark
uh,
Hole was missing in the Doctor Strange movie. Yes.
right, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah. It
there's a
was
bunch of very very powerful books that in the wrong hands can really turn this world upside down.
right.
And
Changed the trajectory of
whether
the multiverse.
whether it be bringing the wrong beings over to our planet, whatever the case. But there was one book that was missing, and that one book is the one that you're mentioning. The what's it called?
The Darkhold.
The dark, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. So I mean, this is what I have. When Wanda first found Agatha's creepy magic dungeon at the end of episode 7, the camera dwelled for 7 seconds on a mysterious glowing book. It didn't come up on episode 8, but that sort of shot usually indicates an object is very meaningful. There was a whole cabinet full of weird magical trinkets in the basement, and the camera never lingered on any of them. Marvel has its share of important magical books, and that was my point, like the Darkhold. This
Right.
could be one of them, or it could be Agatha's personal book of spells, and it becomes an important piece of the season finale. Or it could be that episode was running short, and then they just do it in random shot. That's the way
Yeah.
it was sometimes, But one thing that I really thought it was a dark hole for a while, and it still could be. Again, I'm
Right.
not an expert, but from doing more research, it could be other books. And just as bad, other books can definitely have a bad effect, right? One thing that we can say is, let me see if I have the picture. Give me a second of the book of the libro. Where you at? I have so many images on here, man. I'll just go back to the original question that has a picture of it. Yeah, 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 yeah. Oh, here we go. Bang, bang. So you see the book, right? and the book
Right.
is glowing like you see the faint red, right? Now
Right. Right. Right.
the magic signifies their power. So Agatha, she wears purple. Her powers are purple. When she's controlling somebody, you see the purple little magic around them.
Right.
She has the purple flowers. I mentioned that last week. The influence of the purple flowers called the Wondergore Everbloom, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and Wanda has red powers, right? So each witch has different color powers, right?
Right.
So if you notice, the book is glowing red. And I'll get to another point in a little bit with Agatha versus Wanda, but I feel like everything that we're seeing is leading to say that Wanda's powers are getting absorbed. She's more and more tired and lethargic. I'll get into that in a minute, but it might not be the Dark Lord. It can be something else that's basically taking her powers. And if there's one thing that Agatha has proven and said in this episode is how intrigued she is with her powers, right? With Wanda's powers, how
Right.
she's able to do certain things that she doesn't have the power to do, right? I really, really enjoyed this past episode because they got into the backstory of Agatha, which I found very interesting, and I
Yeah.
thought it
Yeah.
was really cool. We'll talk about that also.
Salem witch trials and all that.
Yeah, oh, that was juicy, man. I enjoyed that. All right, what's the next question? Um, what is Director Hayward's goal and plan? You want to touch on that?
Yeah. Well, going back to what I said before, I think ultimately Hayward, you saw him trying to incite Wanda
He was. Yep.
to lose it.
He brought
And
her inside the office so she can see, knowing that that would emotionally pull her strings even more.
right, right.
Okay.
So
And
at the end,
she saw the torn up pieces of Vision.
yeah, which after her receiving the deed, bringing her to where their plot of land was and where they were supposed to grow old together and all that stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
The imagery of Vision dismantled and just dead really did a number on her, and
Mm-hmm.
ultimately she ended up creating Westview, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it was, at least what we know, Hayward needed Wanda's energy in order to create White Vision, who we saw the end credits of episode 8.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a sentient being, and the S in sword stands for sentient.
I
The
don't know.
the vision, well, it's just basically like a larger word for like android, but he's a synthezoid, like he's
Okay. Okay.
metal wires, but also made of like organic material as well.
Okay. Okay.
Vibranium in that instance. But
Mm-hmm.
the at the end of the day, Hayward wanted Sword to have access to the greatest weapon ever created, right? Who was supposed to be Ultron, but you saw Ultron was flawed
Mm-hmm.
in Age of Ultron, and then eventually we got the Vision as a response to combat Ultron. But Vision is now flawed because of his obsession with Wanda, and he now feels
Mm-hmm.
so he's not really the weapon that Sword wants or Sword needs. So Hayward needs
They
a
want full
weapon
control. They want
to,
full control. Yeah.
yeah, to Hayward needs the weapon to put forth Sword in a position where they're able to take care of any extraterrestrial threats.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Okay. Next question. Why can't Wanda banish the stork with her powers? So the stork, if I could quickly put, stork keeps popping out, and in the beginning, Wanda is living in this fake reality where she's trying to survive and live happily ever after with a reincarnated Vision.
Right.
But each episode is an episode of an like mimicking an old show from all these different time periods, from the 50s, 60s, 70s, all the way on, right? And the reason why they were recreating these TV shows is because as a young little girl, as a young girl, she was very, very, very
Influence.
much a fan, influencing her and
Right.
her family would watch, and they showed that in this
Right.
last episode in the flashback with Wanda,
Yeah.
and
Her father sold DVDs.
yeah, so she was watching I Love Lucy, Dick Van Dyke Show. What else was there? There was
Malcolm in the Middle.
Malcolm in the Middle. So all these shows mimic and and pay tribute to these other shows. But that's why she's in this reality, kind of escaping from the harsh pain and the harsh reality of life. Of because one thing we find out also in this episode is how much she's lost. She's
Right.
lost her parents. Uh, when a bomb struck their house while they were watching shows together as a family, and her parents were killed by a Stark Industries bomb.
Right.
Right. Then she lost her brother. She lost her brother. He was killed. Then she lost Vision, who she's madly in love with. So it's like for this witch who has all these powers to keep losing. Mentally, eventually, you're gonna lose it, right? And
Right.
they were kind of throughout the show, they were kind of leading you to thinking that she just kind of lost it from the end of the movie Endgame when she lost Vision, but she was poked and prodded. Basically, the director was basically poking her so he can get what he wanted out of her, which is for her to access a part of her powers that he could benefit from,
Right.
right? So it's very, very interesting. And to get back to the stork, so the stork would show up, and while she's living in these fake realities of all these different shows, people come in the house that you're supposed to be pretending that you're normal, and eventually, as each episode goes on, you can tell Wanda's not as sharp and she's not as in control as she would like to be. And this stork, she kept trying to use her powers to disappear, and it wouldn't disappear. So I think that that stork is symbolic and controlled by Mephisto. That's what
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
Or
Yeah.
some, or maybe it's Agatha. I don't think Agatha's working alone, but I feel like her powers are not working on this thing. And there's a point where she enters another area, and I'll touch on that, where her powers are no longer good, right? And but when she tried in her own house, it wasn't working. She would try to poof the stalk away, and then just red smoke would come out.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. What do you think?
Well, I think we learned from Agatha, considering that Agatha is a witch and she's a knowledgeable witch and has knowledge of the dark arts. She reveals that Wanda really doesn't know what she's doing. Right? Wanda has
Knowingly, yeah.
all this power, but it's just happening because she has this potential, but she doesn't know how to harness it.
Hmm.
Right? So I think that plays into the fact that she just really doesn't know how to get rid of it. Right? Like she tries, but at the end of the day, she doesn't have the knowledge to actually do it.
Hmm.
Um, because
But she has to kind of find her way because like if you notice like throughout the show, her kids are telling her when the dog died, or bring him back. You have the power to bring him back. And
right,
it's something that she didn't want to access, something that she didn't want to do. She was
right,
like, when things die, you should let them die. Originally, all she wanted to do was get Vision's body to bury him. And the director basically said, listen, I hear you, but he is not, he is $1 billion, whatever it costs, of money of vibranium mixed with all these different type of technology. We're not burying that in the ground.
right,
He belongs to us. You were in love with him, but he belongs to us. So there's no way that we're gonna put from that investment, put that in the ground,
right.
right? So it's interesting. So I guess we're gonna find out more about the influence. I noticed that also when she was in the basement, controlled and controlled by Agatha, Wanda. There were these. If you look around, there were these wings that were like hung up, and it looked like kind of like the wings of a stork,
Okay,
which
yeah,
basically shows that there's influence. Like this is not something that they just threw in. It's symbolic. It means something. We just gotta wait and find out what it is. Just like
Yeah.
the bug from the seventh episode. I forget what it's called. What's it called? Bug. That's very
Cicada,
symbolic.
the cicada.
The cicada. The cicada. I believe it's very very it means something. They chose
Right.
that bug for a reason. Why wasn't it a fly? Why wasn't it a roach? The cicadas usually mean rebirth because what that bug does is that the bug goes in the ground and comes out every X amount of years, and then basically that body that it's in, it basically completely sheds its whole body, not the skin, the
Right.
whole body, the head, the body, it sheds itself, which is
Yeah.
very symbolic. So they chose the cicada for a reason. And if you notice, cicada was on the wall when she was in Agatha's living room. Cicada was on the wall when she was in the basement. There's a fly on the wall, and that's basically symbolic of somebody else being involved. It's not just Agatha, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, another thing too is that don't forget Wanda is a Nexus being, which means she could be simultaneously all across the various worlds in the multiverse, and she is that same person.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that she has the power to bring people back to life is what makes her dangerous because she could
Mm-hmm.
change the very fabric of society, the very fabric of the multiverse, and just
Yeah,
cause it all to collapse and unravel,
definitely.
which is why like a lot of people like Rick feel that Doctor Strange will make some kind of appearance because he's the sorcerer supreme and it's his job to protect that element of that the fabric of the multiverse.
That's his responsibility. Yeah, definitely. That's
Right.
a good movie. If you haven't seen it, definitely check that out. I enjoyed that, and there's definitely a lot of layers to that, and it was fun to watch. So I'm very curious and very interested in where they're going with this and how more characters are going to be introduced into it. But when I saw the Doctor Strange movie when it first came out, I didn't know anything about it, and I definitely liked it, man. And it was cool to see how all the influences and he had to grow into that character in order to be that character because he
Right.
was just he was just a very arrogant, full of himself doctor that
Yeah.
felt like he controlled everything, and he literally had to give up control and his mindset of that he can control everything and believe
Right.
and once he was able to believe, he was able to access different parts of his brain and different parts of the world, whatever. Really good
Yeah.
movie, nonetheless. But so I'm looking forward to the next step. All right, next question. Why does Monica not like to hear about Carol Danvers?
Mm.
Do you have? I don't have an answer for this. I don't. I mean, I have an idea,
Yeah.
but do you have anything for me?
I think the safest thing to say is so obviously Carol played a big part in Monica's life when she was a child, best friends with her mother, Maria. We saw that in Captain Marvel, which I have going on in the background right there.
Yeah, I got a picture of this somewhere. Hold on. You can keep going. Go ahead.
Yeah,
This is Monica as a kid that was in Captain Marvel,
right.
and then I think I have another image somewhere. Let's see. Mm, Yeah, you can keep talking. I'm just gonna look for it.
Yeah, so I think what happened was after Carol realized her power and her responsibility, right, which she got from the Tesseract, which is another Infinity Stone. She has the same power essentially as Photon, right, where like she has this energy that flows through her body. She realized that she has to be one of the protectors of the universe, right, or universes. She makes reference to it in Endgame when she comes back. Thanos snapped half of the population into non-existence, and she was asked why wasn't she around beforehand, alluding to the fact why was she not there for Infinity War. And she responded, well, not every world has heroes like the Avengers. So the Avengers took care of Earth, so Carol felt that she needed to protect and be the overseer of other worlds. So I think that really set Monica into a fit because not only was she no longer part of her life, but she also left who was supposed to be her best friend, her mother, Maria, who we saw in WandaVision,
Yeah, yeah, I got you.
died while
Maria Rambo.
Maria Rambo died while Monica was blipped away, right? The term blip
Yeah, yeah,
refers to those that disappeared because of Thanos' snap. So
yeah.
nobody was there with Maria at her bedside after she passed away. So I think she holds some disgust and disdain for Carol for that reason because she
Yeah,
chose to abandon them and leave.
I see that. I can see that. Yeah, because on the show, when they're talking strategy, and then someone brings up
Captain
Mar-
Marvel.
Captain Marvel, you can tell like she was like, yeah, on to the next subject. We got bigger fish to fry. We don't need to talk about that. And I remember thinking to myself, like, I was wonder why she dismissed it so quickly, especially since she had a history
Yeah.
with her. But that makes complete sense. I think Samuel L. Jackson was the one who questioned uh, Captain Marvel and then that's when she said, "Listen, not everybody has an Avengers, so I have to stand up
Right.
for
Well,
other powerful." Yeah,
Carol was the inspiration for Fury to start the Avengers. He
yeah,
realized at that moment that there were threats that were beyond Earth, and they needed to assemble heroes just like
hmm
Carol Danvers in order to protect them should something of that
So,
magnitude happen
so
again.
is it wrong for me to say that her not showing up for that battle is basically setting up something down the line of what she was doing during that time? She was bringing
For Infinity War?
for I don't yeah she missed it. She missed the war, right? She
Yeah.
wasn't involved in it, right? But she makes a point of saying that, hey, I was standing up for some other
Yeah.
planets and universes outside of here, so
Right.
so could it be somewhere down the line where whoever she was working with down the line would somehow find its way into the storyline?
Possibly, if you remember, one of the things that she was doing or she did at the end of Captain Marvel was she was helping the scrolls find a place to dwell.
Yeah,
They were refugees that were being hunted by the Kree. So Carol, after Captain Marvel was done, at the end, you saw her going into space with the scroll mothership, and they were off to find a place for them to be. So yeah, I totally think at some point that could be maybe be another Disney Plus show.
hmm
The only time will tell. I think you also have to develop the scrolls a little more because there's a lot of people that just don't really know much about the scrolls. So
but they got a lot of a lot of movies that are coming out. I believe they decided to abandon the story of the what was it? I have all the I posted in the room a bunch of different movies that were coming out in the future, but
yeah,
they have a long list of of movies that are coming out in connection, right?
right, right.
But I think, oh wait, what was it called? The it was another word for mutants. So
Oh,
the
Inhumans.
Inhumans. I don't think they're gonna come out with the Inhumans movie anymore.
Yeah, well, they did. They tried coming out with a show. It was on ABC. It didn't do well. It flopped. So I think that was one of the reasons why they decided not to move forward with it. They are going to move forward with the Eternals, as
Yeah.
far as I know.
hmm
The Eternals are like the gods of the multiverse. Chthon is one of them. Gaia is another. So that's where that ties in with WandaVision,
Yeah.
right? WandaVision. So I'll get into it quickly. Just for those that don't know, Chthon was a being, an elder god that was in the earthly realm. Was a god of power, but also evil. So he was actually banned by his sister Gaia. But before going into banishment, he actually left a part of his power in Wanda.
Mm,
and Wanda has the power of Chthon flowing through her veins right
mm,
now. So that's why we're seeing that she's as powerful as she is, because Chthon is an elder god. So
mm,
I think you're going to see that this will tie that in. It's also going to tie in the fact that Wanda was a mutant all along, which will
yeah,
be
yeah.
amazing because up until this point, we've never seen somebody born with their powers in the MCU,
Mm,
right? So that will tie in the X-Men and all these other property rights that Disney was able to regain and Fantastic Four. So this show is really about to set it off.
definitely, definitely, man. I mean, shit. I'm so overwhelmed at times, but it's so cool, and they're really good storytellers. So
Right.
so this so I'm not lost, and not to mention, like, I feel like it adds to the whole thing. I mean, the last time I can remember doing something like this was with Matrix. When Matrix came out, and then there was
Yeah.
a point where the next one was coming. They came out with the Animatrix, and
Right. Right.
I wanted so much more of the Matrix. Give me more, give me more. That I watched the Animatrix, and I was just
That
like,
was
okay,
the anime
yeah,
movie, right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So like, very, very interesting, and that's what the this series has done. Like, it calls you to run to YouTube and to get as much stuff you can get. They
Right.
put so much thought into all these things. It's cool to see all the different layers that we don't see that's there. It's in plain sight.
Yeah. I
So
think everybody likes tie-ins. They like crossovers. They just like to see the genius of how it all gets tied in,
it is
right?
genius. Yeah, definitely.
You know, when
Um, yeah. I'm sorry.
no, just when you look at all the movies that have played out and you see how like Captain America gets from the first Avenger movie and gets connected to
Mhm.
uh current Avenger movies from, because he was frozen in ice and that sort of thing. And just
Mhm.
to see how they're able to tie it all in is really cool. And I also think we've lived in a very long sort of hiatus of not seeing canon, right? Like canon is stuff that appears in like novels and comics that haven't really been divulged when it comes to the movies. They haven't dabbled into it just yet, but I think we're now reaching that territory, and people are excited for that because this is the stuff that they want to see. Right? They don't want to see the 10th reboot of Batman and Superman again. Like, I mean, it's entertaining for what it is, but that's why DC has lost a lot of people, man. They just keep rebooting everything rather than, hey, show us more. There's so much more to see in your DC verse, but you're not showing us that. You're going back to showing us how Batman came to be again.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Agreed, definitely. I mean, I don't agree with all the directions that Marvel have gone in terms of recreating and getting all new cast for Spider-Man and telling the same story with
Yeah.
the same bad guys.
Well,
After a while, I'm just like, okay, what was the reason of that? Is it politics? Is it money? Is it what is it?
well, I think the biggest thing was we have to remember, yes, Marvel was in disarray before too, but that's because Stan sold off the rights to
Yeah,
all
yeah,
these different publishing groups, right? Fantastic Four, X-Men were owned by 20th Century Fox. Spider-Man owned by Sony. If you recall, you had Ed Norton was at one point
the
Bruce
Hulk.
Banner and the Hulk as well. And that was when it was like in disarray because there was no continuity, right? There was no tie-ins and there was no character development or story development. It was just kind of like, here's the movie and that's it. And people kind of got tired of it. But once Disney acquired Marvel, there was a more organized creative direction.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Agreed. Definitely pretty cool. Side note, Terrell, one of our followers, pretty cool dude. He made up a good point. So there was a point where Wanda was trying to get Vision's body so she can bury him,
Right.
and the director was basically like, "No, that's not going to happen."
Mm-hmm.
And he shows her, inside the laboratory as they're pulling him apart. And she's like, "Why would you do that?" And he basically said, in a nutshell, he's not a real person. He is our property. He is money that we put into this. He is technology. He's not the person that you're mourning. He is artificial. He's not real.
Right.
So he's obviously trying to emotionally pull her strings to get what he wants, and you can tell how overpowered by these emotions she is. But she left there. She left there without his body. She didn't. Like in the beginning, they lead you to think that she went in there and she just basically used her powers to take him and his body, right? But that
Right.
that didn't happen. And when she got back to her car, there was an envelope with a deed. The deed was to a house, and it basically said, "Here's a place you can live happily ever after." And it was in Westview. And in Westview, whoever it was, which is more than likely it was the director, basically saying, he's trying to control certain things. Use your powers. You can reincarnate him here, and this is a safe place for you to do it. So when she went to where that deed led, it was just an empty lot, and she basically, with her powers, being emotionally overwhelmed, because she's dealt with so much loss in her life,
Right.
she built up the house, and then that's when Vision came to be, and they were able to live in this reality where they took over the town. Now, the deed had a heart on it, where the house was, and it says to grow old in.
Right.
Now, if you remember in like the first episode or the second episode, there was a calendar, and the calendar had a heart on it, right?
Yep.
So
Hmm.
what Terrell said was possibly this deed, when the hex came up and everything changed, the deed probably turned into the calendar, and that's why there was a heart on that date.
Okay, so like
But
she it was altered into uh
something else.
something else, right?
Yeah. So everything is altered to a certain degree in the work in Westview, and a lot of it's all based around just basically just them being happy and them living a life there where
Right.
their powers are not going to be utilized, but will not be seen. But there's an influence that causes her to keep using her powers. But we'll get on that afterward. Let me move to some other questions. Next question. Who would make a big cameo? Remember, big cameos were always Stan Lee, man. He was
Yeah.
awesome. Stan Lee was always just jumping in movies, playing these different characters, man. He was an awesome guy.
Yeah.
Who do you think? Are we gonna get someone? Do you think? Or
Uh
are the day of cameos of someone just dropping someone in is over?
yeah, I don't know. I know, while the lead up to Endgame was happening, it was pretty clear that something was going to happen to Tony because Robert Downey Jr.'s contract hadn't been renewed.
Mm-hmm.
And there was talks that he before we understood the fate of what ends up happening to Tony Stark, there was thought that he was going to replace Stan as a cameo in various Marvel movies in the future. Then obviously we learn what happens to him with Thanos. Um, so you kind of wonder if maybe there's some sort of, and I know we spoke about this in the group as well. There's some augmented version of him
Mm-hmm.
where he appears like in the same way that Jarvis has had in the past, in the system which controls his armor and his computers and that sort of thing. And I know that there was an article that came out recently where they asked him if it was like if that was it, and he sort of left it open, like, "Hey, you never know, something could come about." So we might get that from Robert Downey Jr. moving forward, but also you kind of have to wonder too, like the reason why that was granted to Stan was because Marvel was his baby. You don't want to really replace Stan Lee with somebody else just because.
Maybe
So
his cameos have been all the subtle little tributes that they've given him throughout the show.
right. So what I'm saying is that they could be doing a disservice to him and his legacy by just plugging somebody else in there. I think
Mm.
That could be just something that is reserved for Stan, and that's it.
Yeah, I
You
can
know?
see that, and I'm okay with that too.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Why was there finally a post-credit scene in episode 7? Let me get this one. So,
Yeah. Go ahead,
um,
bro.
in episode 7, they changed the perspective from Wanda to the MCU. If you notice, when Wanda entered Agatha's basement, the screen perspective got smaller, signifying that they are no longer in Wanda's world and entered the real world. The post-credit scene was given because the storytelling has changed from Wanda to the MCU. So, inside this basement of Agatha, her powers no longer worked, right?
Right.
Agatha, obviously, I had to get an image of it, took control of Wanda, used her purple. If you notice, behind, her feet are tied, her hands are tied, and she's floating in the air. And that's Agatha's power, and it's purple, the color of her powers. So in that basement, there was symbols that were on the walls, and the walls were like almost like the symbols represented uh, spells that
Right.
basically made it so she couldn't utilize her power down there. So when Wanda tried to use her power, she couldn't.
Right.
So
They were precursors because that pre-existed all of them. That tomb that was there,
yeah,
but Wanda didn't have the knowledge to utilize it, whereas Agatha, who practices in the dark arts,
hmm
knew exactly what she was doing.
definitely. Um, so it's been said that there was finally a post-credit scene because now that she crossed over into the real world, we were, we
Okay.
were, we were no longer living Wanda's story.
That's interesting. Okay, so Wanda had her own traditional TV show, but now that she's leaving that, she's now
That,
going back to the MCU, so they're going to the format that they've been
yes,
using
yes,
the
yes,
past
yes.
decade.
And
Okay.
and this is basically what it's been. It's been recreating all these different TV shows, and the storyline being controlled, and it hasn't really been about the MCU. But in the MCU, the real world has been trying to infiltrate this world and has been having an issue with it. When Sword was trying to find their way in, they were having issues with it. Everything, obviously happened. When she expanded the hex, members of the Sword got transformed into the circus.
Circus, right.
So the only big change that we've seen is basically Monica Rambeau getting powers of becoming photon and being able to see the world almost like the Matrix, where you can see the coding of everything. You can
Right.
see the way things really are outside of the way they want it to look. She became photon.
Hmm.
So
She
so
stuck the
yeah,
superhero landing too.
absolutely, man. I got to practice that, man. I'm gonna jump off the sofa.
Yeah, do it in front of Aliana, see how she reacts.
I'll do it, and she just be like,
It'd be
"Yeah."
amazing if she like gave you an applause, like
What's
yeah.
funny is that she has this I don't know, like a walker, right? But
Okay.
it's not, it's like a bouncer, and she can't walk on it, but she has her feet on it, and she can basically, like kind of like move it and like jump up and down with it. But what's great about it is that the harness that holds her is a completely 360 revolving thing, so she could just turn around. So when she
Mm.
hears something behind her, bro, the way she turns around is hilarious. So like I put my episode on the TV, right? Of
Right.
media chop up. So she's looking at me on the sofa, but she hears my voice behind her, and she
Yeah.
just turns around completely, and she's like, so like I picture her just turning around, like what the,
What's going on over
what's
here,
going on?
pops?
You know?
Right.
Yeah, 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 definitely. All right, next one. We're getting towards the end here in terms of questions. This question was from one of my guys from the room. Will there be a WandaVision season 2? Simply put, from my perspective, if I may get this,
Yeah.
no. No, there isn't going to be a WandaVision 2 because they have so much story to tell, and she's still going to be involved in it, right? That there's no reason to do a WandaVision 2. Usually, when shows have this popularity, you hear after like 2 to 3 episodes, oh, got signed for a season 2. they don't wait to the end usually to tell you that they got signed for season two.
Right,
So,
right, right.
the story of WandaVision, Wanda will still have a part, but this whole aspect, there's so much more story to tell that they don't have time to kind of rewrite, to just write a whole new storyline for her.
Yeah,
These episodes have been very informative, especially this last episode. You see the history behind Agatha the witch, how she turned against her witch sisters and her witch mother, and they turned against her because they realized that she was using dark magic and she shouldn't, and her power overthrew them, and how ruthless she can be. And then you get to see a lot of the tragedy Wanda has been through in her life, where she's just lost, and emotionally she's just a mess. So everything that she held dear is basically being taken from her. So
right.
her story will live on. It's going to continue on. It's going to transfer right into the multiverse. Her character is so powerful, it's not one that's going to be forgotten. Her character is so interesting, it's not one that can be forgotten. So, to answer your question, no, there will not be a season two, but the story is not over, and we just got to follow it. You just
Yeah,
go along for the ride.
yeah, I agree. I think we're just going to see a different side of her. We're not going to see Wanda anymore. I think moving forward, we're going to be seeing the Scarlet Witch, which is a different side of Wanda.
Ah, yeah, yeah, definitely. So yeah, man. So those are big. If I miss any of these questions, those are a lot of the questions that we got. I have some information I wrote here. Hidden in plain sight. So Billy, the son, one of the sons who has powers where he can kind of see what's going on elsewhere and everything, right? He
Right.
says to Agatha while he's in her house, um, I like it here. It's so quiet. It's
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's so quiet. And he's like basically saying that everywhere I go, I can hear the voices of all the people who I can read their minds. Yet in this house, I cannot. And that's
Yeah.
because she doesn't want to. And if you notice, when Agatha had Wanda held captive, Wanda tried to read her mind or try to influence her mind, and she's like, not here.
Right, right, right.
So that's a big reason. That's something that we didn't you might have missed, where the son had the power, couldn't use the power, but he didn't understand why.
Right,
You know,
right. Well, he too, just like Wanda at the moment, is an amateur at magic
yeah,
because he got her powers. Wiccan is who he becomes,
yeah,
and but there, as far as the knowledge of witchcraft, neither of them like are really understanding of it.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Also, in the beginning of every episode, Wanda voices the words previously on WandaVision.
Right,
And as each episode passes, she sounds more and more lethargic. Almost like each episode that passes, she's getting drained of all her energy. So the connection that I make is, why is she becoming more and more drained? She was in a lot more control in the beginning. She was
right,
happier. Now she's depressed. Now she seems like she's like things that she would be sharp on and on top of, she's not. Right. So which brings me to the point of the book. The book is going red. Her powers are being drained more and more. And this is my point originally that I decided to push to later, right? Agatha has been orchestrating things since day one. She knocks on Wanda's door to introduce herself in a neighborly way while giving a plant as a gift. That's one, a purple plant, right? Which is the plant that I told you about that basically had the powers, right?
right,
Agatha plants the seed that a date on the calendar probably means it's their anniversary. She also asks what will Wanda plan to do to spice up the night in order to get them to consummate. So if you think about it, right, she's been planting the seeds. She wouldn't normally have thought by looking at the calendar, oh my God, it's our anniversary, right?
right.
She's doing that for a reason. She wanted them to consummate. She's been planting those seeds. She knocked on her back door when she was entertaining guests and bought her a bunch of things that she felt like she was going to fail on, and she was going to possibly use her magic. She wants her to use her magic more and more and more. Wanda wasn't originally trying to use her magic, but it seemed like each episode she was using her magic for different things. for the magic show. She was using her magic because she didn't want them to see that remember Vision was like kind of drunk because he had gum that was stuck inside of him. It's a
Right,
long
right,
story. You got to watch this episode to see it. But nonetheless, to hide their secret, she was using her magic, Wanda, to basically hide, to make it look like it was magic instead of her powers, right?
right,
And Agatha's been trying to utilize her to use more of her powers more and more. In this episode, she reveals how she's really trying to get to the source and the power of her magic because she wants to obtain it, in my opinion.
right,
This book is glowing red for a reason. And I believe that the reason is she was trying to obtain her strongest powers and utilize her vulnerable state. And she's controlling Wanda to a very, you see, she was controlling Wanda. Wanda, hey, come me to my basement. Wanda
right.
wasn't thinking like she normally has. So I'm very curious what happens when the regular Vision comes back, when he comes looking for Wanda, and he realizes, oh shit, what's going on over here?
Right, right, right.
It-
Also, the Monica too, right? Because in episode 7, we saw that it ended with her noticing
Mhm,
the
definitely.
tomb, the chamber, and we didn't see her at all this past week. So I
Yeah,
think that'd be interesting.
it's so interesting, man, and I'm so curious how they're gonna play it out.
Right.
But yeah, man, listen, sky's the limit with this show, and it's it's so entertaining, and I loved how they pivoted for this episode, and I was still just as drawn to it.
Yeah, for sure.
In this episode, we really didn't give you a full summary, but ultimately, Agatha, you see her, where she came from, how she turned against her sisterhood, of other witches by using dark magic, how they tried to defeat her and she defeated them. You
Right.
see how Wanda, as a little girl, how she was such a fan of these old school shows with her family, and you see a lot of her torment of loss throughout her life and what basically molded her to be the way she is. So you see a little bit of how she got her powers, how she got involved with, was that sword she was involved with, that terrorist group at some point, where you see her, they put her in a room with the axe that had the
Oh no, no, that was Hydra. You talking about?
yeah.
Yeah, Hydra was trying to manipulate herself with the Mind Stone.
Yes, yes. And they,
So
they didn't think that she would make it. Like they were
right,
they were they were trying different people who had powers, and it was killing everyone. So they didn't
right.
anticipate her, but all it did was really just kind of bring something out of her that was already dormant there.
Yeah, yeah. It unleashed something in her and
Hmm.
gave her the realization that she has this special power within, right? Because
Hmm.
you spoke about it earlier. The whole situation that happened with the Stark missile.
Yeah, yeah,
She thinks that like they just were lucky, but at the end of the day,
she
it was
controlled it.
her that prevented them from actually getting
Going
destroyed
on.
by it.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely. Listen, man, I really enjoy Paul Bettany, and I really admire him as an actor, and and what he's been doing for the MC universe. I'll be sad to see him go, but this whole aspect of the white vision
Vision, yeah.
is very intriguing to me, man. So
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah,
very
if you look at that photo, I think one of the interesting things about it is you notice in his head where Vision had the Mind Stone,
mhm.
there's like a similar arc how Tony had in his chest,
I've been hearing that.
which
Yes.
powered him.
Okay.
Um, and you and I have spoken offline about this too, where this could be their way of keeping the Avengers alive, right? Because Endgame was the end of the traditional Avengers as we know it, but there are other Avengers that spawn from this whole you know chapter
Mhm.
later in the Marvel verse.
Yeah,
So
definitely, man. I mean, very interesting, man. But I guess we've covered a lot, man. Is there anything else that anybody else wants to add? Is there anything you want to add?
Nah, man, I think, hey, buckle up, enjoy it. Um, there's not much layover time until we get Falcon and the Winter Soldier, so that's always good. I think that was one of the things about Disney Plus that was a little tough in the beginning because outside of Mandalorian, at least for myself, there wasn't much for me to jump into. But
Now it's
now,
coming right now.
yeah, now it's coming, and the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and you hope that by the time that this is over, they'll make plans to drop Black Widow, and we'll be able to get some consistent continuation of Marvel films.
Definitely. I mean, there's a lot of things that's on the horizon. I've been wanting to see. I don't know why. I really want to see that movie Monster Hunter. I haven't got a chance to.
With
Yeah,
the woman from Resident Evil,
yeah,
she has
um,
the Slavic name. I forget.
yeah. And really looking forward to Godzilla versus King Kong.
Yeah, man, that'd be good.
Coming
Tom
coming
and
up.
Jerry's out right now. About to watch that.
No, I'll pass on that. But
Nah,
okay.
you don't want to see the new Tom and Jerry, bro? Come on.
You know what I saw, which was really good? It's on Netflix. It's not something I would have thought of being really good. In fact, let me get the picture of it so you can share it. It's actually pretty cool. I saw it just putting something on, and hold on, let me type it in. Where you at? Yes, here we go. Where you at? Where you at? What's the name of it? Is this the name of it? Yeah, this is it right here, I think. So image. I'll share this with everybody. Right. So it's not. I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think it was going to be great. I didn't think it was going to be. But I just put it on, and it's a movie, and it was very well done, man. I really, 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 really enjoyed it, and it was very entertaining. I gotta find out who's where you at. Let me find this thing now. Are you doing WandaVision? It's called Bigfoot Family.
Bits of Family.
Bigfoot
Oh,
Family.
Bigfoot Family. Oh,
So like,
okay, it's like a
so they,
CGI
they, they
kind.
they put like a spin on it,
Right.
and bro, it's so entertaining and so funny and so interesting that man, I watched it with Julie and we were like, that was a really good movie. That was a really good movie,
That's what I'm
So
saying, bro. That kind of looks like it's a kids movie. Tom
it
and
does.
Jerry, bro.
I guess I could guess that. Is there any talking in Tom and Jerry? Is just like acting.
It's like like real. They're in the real world, but they mix the cartoon part of
Ah,
them in the
got it,
real world, kind of thing.
got it. All
Yeah,
right.
it's not like the traditional cartoon from 50 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, listen, you know what it is. I got so many things I really want to see coming
Yeah,
up soon. I mean, listen, because next week's episode is obviously going to be talking about the big season finale of WandaVision. Obviously,
yeah,
shortly after, we're going to be talking about Coming to America 2 that got released on Amazon Prime. That's big.
nice.
You know, there's a bunch of things that are coming up. You got Winter, so I mean the next
Falcon
the
and the
next
Winter Soldier.
Falcon and the Winter Soldier coming out. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah,
It's kind of just kind of happening right now, so we got to keep up with it.
yeah,
So we'll pivot once this final episode is out of WandaVision, and then we'll keep talking about whatever's current, or we'll just jump right back into just kind of talking about different themes or whatever. We'll feel it out. But if you guys have any suggestions, feel free. Hey, we really appreciate all the feedback you guys are giving us, all the love you guys are giving us. I love it. I had some pictures that I was going to show you guys. I'll wait for Rick to be here. And it basically just shows us all dressed up as Deadpool going to the movies and just being uh,
being silly
true fans, being true
yourselves,
fans. All right,
yourselves,
just like Captain Dan over here.
and
But yo,
don't you forget it.
thank you for being on the show. Thank you for supporting. Thank,
Absolutely, yo.
thank you guys out
Thanks for
there.
having me.
All your questions all your stimulating points and everything, man. We really enjoy it. I love movies. I love shows. On to the next, episode next week. And hey guys, do what you love and love what you do. All right. Anything you want to say, Captain Daniel, before we out?
Yo, watch WandaVision.
WandaVision. Is that your best Captain America accent?
No, no, you know.
I mean, I don't know. Does he have an accent?
Uh, I mean, Lee, I like how Chris Evans plays him. I think he's one of the most standout characters in the last decade of the MCU. But
Mhm.
I think it's funny, being that we're both from Brooklyn and kind of hearing Chris Evans talk like he's from Brooklyn because he's really from Massachusetts.
Uh,
You could tell that he's trying a little too hard, you know.
the
But
Massachusetts.
but
Those
yeah,
Mass-
one of my favorite scenes in Civil War when he's fighting Spider-Man and he goes, "You got heart, kid. Where you from?" And then Peter Parker says, "Queens," and Captain America shakes his head and then he goes, "Brooklyn." That's it. So,
I
yeah,
love
no,
that.
it's been a great time. Thank you for allowing me to come on and nerd out.
Yeah, definitely.
Look
You're more than
forward to
welcome.
next week.
You're more than welcome to come on for the season finale of WandaVision if you
Yeah,
like.
no doubt. Well, I mean, I think as long as Rick is good to go next week, I'll take a seat and
Okay.
I'll see what you guys have to say, and then we'll see what goes on moving forward as far as
Yeah,
Falcon and the Winter Soldier goes.
absolutely, absolutely. Guys, I was really gonna dress up as Vision. I was really gonna.
But you
Yo,
got you can save it for the season finale, bro.
I said I was, but then like I don't want to be muffled. And listen, there's a lot of makeup that goes into freaking Paul Bettany. Look at this guy over here.
Yeah,
I love
yeah,
that guy.
yeah, yeah.
I love
Yeah,
that
you
guy.
could always cut like a little hole in the mouth area just to
Yeah,
kind of sound better. Get a
that'll
little
be
creative with it.
that'll be weird, but okay. Hey,
Yeah.
I'm all about it, guys. Thank you. On to the next episode. We'll see you next week. Peace out, y'all. Later.
Good night, everybody.